To you, I suppose, is just on a light note. Do you ever, have a moment where you take in what it means to be a judge of the Constitutional Court of South Africa, which is a big job? I can't imagine a bigger job in this country, quite frankly.
I do welcome, but one of the great things about LGBTI life is what some people call camp or irony. You can never take yourself entirely seriously. When I walk into court behind Chief Justice McQueen and my colleagues, there's no part of me that is undilutedly proud, or there's always part of me that sees it through many layers. But yes, I am aware of it. I'm aware of the joy and the responsibility and the task it brings, and of the opportunities it gives. And of course, very aware of the fact that as an openly and proudly gay man, I think I was the first openly gay man ever appointed to any country's apex court. There were other, obviously, people in the closet, and one very famous and distinguished judge in Australia, Justice Michael Kirby, came out after he was appointed. So I'm aware of those opportunities, and I'm aware of the position, but I also have my tongue in my own cheek a lot of the time.
And so what were the, seeing that you came out, you talk about how you came out before you were appointed, and we'll talk later on about what that process was for you in terms of coming out, but how have you navigated your way through, the legal trajectory as an openly gay man? Obviously that brought a lot of challenges.
It did welcome, and the thing for me was, after I decided to come out, I decided to tell my own story, the third kind. To tell a story not mediated by other people's prejudices. I never apologized again. I made no self-fawning or self-deprecating. So it was difficult, but people had to accept me. I was offering legal services. I worked incredibly hard, and it was up to them. I want to say one thing. I recently heard from a colleague that a deputy judge president in one of our national provincial divisions had made a homophobic comment about me. I was very surprised because I respected the person and I knew him from long back. But I say that simply to say to you that over the last 35 years, almost no one has ever made a homophobic comment directly to you. So if you tell your own story, if you're able to, not everyone is, you living in a homophobic country or homophobic township or homophobic suburb or homophobic church congregation, you can't always tell your own story. But if you can tell your own story on your own terms, people won't be homophobic to your face.
Actually, speaking of stories, your career has largely been characterized by a commitment to social justice and wanting to give back to the country. Can you tell us about some early moments? You talk about some of them in your book, Witness to AIDS, when you were a kid and you realized, maybe you can tell the story that you want to give back to the country because you are aware of the kind of disparities in the country.
Thank you, welcome. The things that shaped my consciousness are my white skin, my homosexuality, and much later my infection with HIV, and my positionality as a South African. But my white skin, I grew up poor. I was in a dysfunctional home. My parents couldn't look after me, and I was in a children's home for the first 5 years of school. But my passport out was my white skin. Got to Pretoria Boys High, outstanding school, whites only. Stellenbosch University, whites only. Rhodes Scholarship at the end of Stellenbosch, formally not barring blacks, but until that point, until Louisa Nomba was elected in 1978, only white people and one Indian person. So profoundly I had a sense of the fact that my way out of poverty was mediated by white racism. That came to me quite late, I must say. And reading Steve Biko, when he was banned in South Africa at the time of his murder in 1977, I was in Oxford, played a profound role in my life because I thought that what he articulated said a lot, not just about race, but also of other forms of stigma. So from that sense came a commitment to trying to change the structures of our country. They're not inevitable. Even now, when we look at the astonishing disparities, we still have choices as a people in governing ourselves to change that.
Speaking of your being saying you were aware of your privilege as a white male, and that propelled you to want to give back to society so people could have the same opportunities. What would you say about, white South Africans largely at this stage as far as conversations around race and building this country are concerned? That kind of awareness, is that what people need to do more of to be able to give back?
I think the white community has a duty. I don't think it's the black community, the black people, we're speaking in very rough terms, duty to educate white people. There's a lot of work to be done in the white community, I agree. The last time I heard the K word was around my sister's family lunch table on a Sunday when one of my Afrikaans speaking cousins used it. And it was such a shock to me that I stopped him, I confronted him. But to me that was quite an eye-opener. This was 2 or 3, maybe 4 years ago. So it's alive and well, but at the same time, I think we have to be aware, of the internalization of racial shame when a trigger event like Penny Sparrow or one of these other people happen. What internalized shame is being triggered when a homophobic comment is made? You're a queer or you're a sissy or you... I think we've made more progress in the modern world with LGBTI equality than we've made against racism.
And what do you think that process means with what we've seen so far with the Trump, what's called the Trump era, with the rise of the right? And we are seeing trails of it all over the world. I think there are trails of it. The Penny Sparrow incidents and many other are an indication of that. What does that mean for the progress that
I think you're right to link them, welcome. And also it's not just Trump, it's President Orban in Hungary, is the president of Poland. The closing of Europe, attempted closing of Europe, is a racialized response. And President Trump is part of it. And you're right that in South Africa, the white supremacist notion, which I think is very, very, it's marginalized. It's a fringe element, but it's nevertheless there.
Can we just backtrack a little bit and talk about when you first came out publicly as a gay man? Can you just tell us how and what inspired that kind of decision, in such hostile times?
It was a necessity. It was realizing that I could no longer try to build my life on principles and facts that weren't my own. And it was end of 1992 in very police hostile, homophobic white South Africa. There were still raids. Right until the latter half of the 1980s, they were still considering adopting extra anti-gay legislation, anti-lesbian, anti-homosexual legislation. So it was hard. But at the same time, with a sense of inevitability and a sense of your own self as something that you have no volition over, very strong sense of that helped me. The fact that I was also at that time in a relationship, my partner left after 2 years for a job in Houston, but I could say to people, now bring my partner. That helped. It doesn't always help, because if you're on your own, you can't do it in such an ostentatious way. But that helped me at the time. From
coming out as gay publicly in your career, and then eventually coming out as someone who was living with HIV and AIDS, how did you, I know the story about you about to go for an interview. Can you tell us roughly, for people who might not be familiar with that moment when you decided against a situation, a hostile situation with stigma and all these perceptions around HIV, making that decision to say, I'm going to come out and say I'm living with HIV?
Thank you very much, Wilton. It was much more difficult. Because I think the shame of HIV infection for me went deeper than the shame that I'd shared of being gender or orientation different. So I was...
Can you say why that?
It's so hard to know, and I've grappled with it in my writing. I think it's to do with sexual transmission, the moment of profound sexual intimacy and privacy, which is meant to communicate excitement, love, opposite sex couple, the possibility of more human life. I think when that transmits something, an infection, particularly a fatal infection, there's a tremendous shame associated around it. And what I'm glad why you asked it is that I think it's still a fact. We have 7 million people in our country living with HIV. The people who speak out are working class people, unemployed people. Our elite, and this includes most of us here, are not speaking about it. We don't have parliamentarians. We've just had one parliamentarian, Ms. Mutara, who's spoken out about it, and I honour her tonight for doing it. But until her, we haven't had MECs or premiers or cabinet ministers or sports stars, soccer legends, entertainment stars speaking out about it. So it's a profound shame. For me, the shame was linked to being gay. I'd come out as gay. I'd gone on after Valhalla and Hard, my partner left from Houston. I went on a sex binge. There it is, something. And I became infected with HIV. And the story told about HIV was that it's promiscuous people. And it's that story that shamed President Thabo Mbeki into denialism about HIV and its transmission. He was wrong, of course. Because HIV is not about the way black people have sex. If it were, we'd have a continent-wide epidemic, whereas we only have an epidemic in Central and Southern Africa. So obviously there are other issues than blackness. But for me, the shame was about transmission. And I only realized when I was working with mine workers' wives that it wasn't about homosexual transmission, it was about sexual transmission. But I decided to speak out after I'd got onto antiretroviral therapy, and after Gugu Amini, who died 3 weeks after Simon Cordy, 1st of December, Simon Cordy dies of AIDS. He was speaking out openly, my friend and comrade. Zaki Ahmed was already speaking out. He'd started the Treatment Action Campaign. I was still silent. I was a judge in the High Court. And then on the 21st of December, Gugu Amini was killed in Kwamashu. And I realized I could no longer be silent because she had none of the protections and the privileges that I had. And she'd spoken on a Zulu language radio station about having HIV and got killed for it. And then in the next April, a few months later, I spoke out about it.
And when you did, were you ready for the backlash and people speaking out and, the same way she experienced a very hostile reaction? What were your contemplation of that, even from family and friends, which a lot of people, I imagine, keep that?
I was terrified, but there was no backlash.
Okay.
There was only embracing, endorsement, love, praise, affirmation. It was quite extraordinary. I think the response to Guru was partly because she was a woman, partly because she was a sex worker. Her daughter, Madisa, rightly talks about the fact that she was a sex worker. It's a form of occupation. There's no reason to be. The most stigmatized group in human life, I think, are sex workers, quite wrongly. So I think the people who attacked Gugu were her clients, her regular clients, who feared that by her going public, they were going to be exposed as well. So there were particular circumstances, and I've said to other people who've consulted me, you will find affirmation, you will find acceptance, you will find approval if you speak up out about your own HIV status. And I think what stops people often is the internalization of stigma about HIV.
Speaking of the affirmation you gave, I was reading this and had one moment that I particularly enjoyed when you were telling your mother about your status and you were going to go public. And I'd like to ask you to read some of that for us. Is that okay? This one portion.
My mum was 78 at the time. My brother-in-law, Vim, and his family stoutly supported the move to go public about my HIV. So I set about telling close friends and colleagues who did not know. And on the Sunday before the Judicial Service Commission convened to interview me, I joined my mother for lunch at her retirement centre in the quiet Pretoria suburb of Arcadia. The autumn day was blissfully warm and sunny. In the early afternoon, she and I took a slow walk through the lovely terraced gardens of the Union buildings, the splendid sandstone crescent that Herbert Baker had conceived in 1910 as the hilltop administrative hub of a united white South Africa. Now, this magnificent edifice proudly housed the offices of President Mandela, who was about to retire, and Deputy President Mbeki, who was about to take over from him. Amidst the richly coloured cannas and late roses, my mother and I sat down on a bench overlooking Pretoria's city bowl. I had to tell her not only that I was living with HIV, but that very shortly, in a few days' time, I planned to go very public. My mother had long followed my career. Always, she expressed support and admiration for my work with people living with HIV and AIDS. In my worst moments, I had thought that I would die before her. Now, I could truthfully explain to her how well I was feeling on the drugs that I had started taking 18 months before. Our deaths, parent and child, would be in due order. I brought the conversation around and spoke gently to her. When I had finished, there was a quiet pause. She continued looking calmly, almost abstractedly at the flower beds. After a moment, she glanced at me and quietly murmured, "I thought as much, my boy."
Thank you, sir. So, the question of stigma, which you speak of, and which is, I think related with your mama, certainly overcome that. I wonder how today we can overcome it, and what the perceptions are today around HIV, that people both internalize and that are out there as far as perceptions that people hold. And I wonder what your view is as to where that spectrum is and how we can do better.
It's a beautiful question, Malcolm. I always think of Steve Biko's words, "Black man, you're on your own." You can't ask someone else to do it. And for me, those words count with the LGBTI community in Africa. The pivotal change in LGBTI liberation in Africa over the last 10 years, you can almost date it back to the occasion when Stephen Monjeza and Tawonga Chimbalanga in 2009 in Malawi, in rural Malawi, stated that they wanted to be married to each other. Two people, we dare not patronize them by saying they were ruralites or something. It's wrong to do that. They were incredibly sophisticated and self-assertive in their love. And what happened to them? They were paraded, jeered, taken in an open truck to court with villagers lining the street, throwing things at them, sentenced to 14 years. But what did Stephen Monjeza and Tawonga Chimbalanga do for us in Africa? They brought the issue to the front. They brought the UN Secretary General to Malawi to beg for their release from a prison sentence for speaking the words that we want to get married, a prison sentence of 14 years. Almost unimaginable. That moment 10 years ago was when we in Africa became visible. And it's happening in Uganda. It was already happening. Make no mistake, David Kato paid for his life with his own visibility, and I honour him tonight too. Kenya, elsewhere in Africa, Nigeria, where they've adopted the most homophobic law that's ever been put on a human statute book, and I can explain later why. So I think that it's, Steve Biko says you're on your own. It doesn't mean that we don't need allies. You need allies against racism. You need white racists to change, you need homophobes to change, but we also need our own visibility, our own vocality, our own voices, our own assertion. And that is my lesson from the
You said you explained why the law in Nigeria.
It's an astonishing law, adopted at the end of 2013 and brought into force at the beginning of 2014. It prohibits same-sex marriage in Nigeria, but it prohibits the advocacy of same-sex marriage. It defines same-sex marriage as advocating equality for gay and lesbian people. So if I land in Abuja or Lagos now, and I say, I'm a proudly gay South African judge, I think there should be equality for Nigerian LGBTIs. I've committed an offence that will land me in prison for 14 years. So it is the worst, there's never been a worse homophobic law. The Section 377 of the Indian Supreme Court overturned late last year was a British colonial law that is still applied through much of former Commonwealth Black Africa. That law at least requires homosexual acts. The Nigerian law goes much further.
Speaking of speaking out against for equality and gay rights within such a country, for example, your career is also one that's, amongst many other things, characterized by speaking out and standing up for issues in the face of impunity. And it's something we value now because of our constitution and freedom of expression. But you've been speaking out even before that was granted. And I wonder what your, I suppose maybe advice or word to everyone about, in terms of standing up for one's principles and ideals in the face of serious impunity, because I imagine those laws have to be changed and people are going to have to speak out against those conditions.
I'm glad you asked that, Malcolm, because first of all I want to say that I was a racial coward lurking within white racism. I'm not proud of what I was.
Say more about that.
Well, I benefited from white racism structurally, actively, but I was a massively passive recipient of white privilege. But I was also, as a teenager at Stellenbosch University, I did not cover myself in glory. So, and then as a gay man, I've tried to change myself for nearly 20 years, and I lived. And then as someone living with HIV for 12 years, I kept silent under the shame. So I know that shame, I know the inhibitions on action, and I know the fear on action. I don't speak to people about speaking about HIV or about their LGBTI status easily, and I don't prescribe to them. But to get back to your question, I think the start lies with ourselves, and then the second step is in solidarity with others. And that's why this evening with their stories is so important. It's a political expression, it's a creative expression, it's an emotive expression, it's a human expression. But it's very important because it's our solidarity with each other here tonight. That's the most important thing. And I think that's my answer to your question, that we have to look for human bonds.